Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Meditative either, nu, but, sha, maybe, shatra bandhuvihi, by the lower Kshatriyas. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Sri Prabhupada. Translation. Upon returning, he began to contemplate and argue within himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had just been feigning trance just to avoid receiving a lower Kshatriya. Purport. The king, being a devotee of the Lord, did not approve of his own action, and thus he began to wonder whether the sage was really in a trance or was just pretending in order to avoid receiving the king, who was a Kshatriya and therefore lower in rank. Repentance comes in the mind of a good soul as soon as he commits something wrong. Srila Vishnava Chakravarti Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami do not believe that the king's action was due to his past misdeeds. The arrangement was so made by the Lord just to call the king back home, back to Godhead. According to Srila Vishnava Chakravarti, the plan was made by the will of the Lord, and by the will of the Lord the situation of frustration was created. The plan was that for his so-called misdeed, the king would be cursed by an inexperienced Brahmin boy, infected by the influence of Kali, and thus the king would lead his heart in harmful good. His connections with Srila Sukadeva Goswami would enable the presentation of the great Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered to be the book incarnation of the Lord. This book incarnation of the Lord gives much fascinating information of the transcendental pastimes of the Lord, like his Rasa Leela with the spiritual Kahu damsels of Raja-Muni. This specific pastime of the Lord has a special significance because anyone who properly learns about this particular pastime of the Lord will certainly be dissuaded from mundane sex desire and be placed on the path of sublime devotional service to the Lord. To pure devotees, mundane prostration is meant to elevate the devotee to a higher transcendental position. By placing Arjuna and the Pandavas in frustration due to the intrigue of his cousin brothers, the prelude of the battle of Kurukshetra was created by the Lord. This was to incarnate the sound representative of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita. So by placing King Parikshit in an awkward position, the incarnation of Srimad Bhagavatam was created by the will of the Lord. Being distressed by hunger and thirst was only a show, because the king endured much, even in the womb of his mother. He was never disturbed by the glaring heat of the Brahmastra released by Ashwatthama. The king's distressed condition was certainly unprecedented. The devotees like Maharaj Parikshit are powerful enough to forbear such distresses by the will of the Lord, and they are never disturbed. The situation in this case was therefore all planned by the Lord. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasada Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class. So now we're just right at the scene where Maharaj Parikshit soon will be cursed. And just a quick recap of the past two verses. First we saw, I think 2 verses ago, Maharaj Parikshit was once out in the forest hunting, and then he was overcome by thirst and hunger. And then being very thirsty, he was looking for a place to get some water. And he saw a hut of a sage, and this sage was happened to be Samika Rishi. So then naturally he enters into this hut or this residence of the sage. And this sage, he has his eyes closed and he's just sitting down in meditation. And he asks the sage, first of all, the sage doesn't notice or receive him or welcome him in, nothing. There's no response from the sage. And Maharaj Parikshit secondly, he asks, can you, I'm very thirsty, can I please get a glass of water, some water to drink? And there's no response from the sage. So then Bhagavatam explains, yesterday or day before yesterday's verse, then Maharaj Parikshit got overcome by anger and envy. And with his mind so disturbed by anger, he angrily left. And as he was just about to leave, he saw just outside the hut there was a dead snake. And Maharaj Parikshit was thinking, this sage, he treated me so coldly, so his reaction should be, I'll put this cold snake around his neck. The way he treated me, I'll also treat him the same. So that's what he did. With his arrow, he picked up the dead snake, and then he garlanded the sage while he was in meditation with the dead snake. And then he goes off, and in today's verse we hear that as he's returning back to his palace, I'll just read the translation again. Upon returning, he began to contemplate and argue within himself whether the sage had actually been in meditation with senses concentrated and eyes closed, or whether he had just been feigning trance just to avoid receiving the lower Shakti. So now as he's going back to his palace, or as he's returned back to his palace, now he's starting to contemplate. Actually, maybe the sage was in Samadhi, and that's why he didn't notice me coming. That's why he didn't respond to me. So now Maharaj Parikshit will start repenting for his actions. But before we go on to that, firstly, we'll just establish one point which pretty much the main portion of this book what Prabhupada is discussing, that this whole scene orchestrated here in this chapter Bhaktam is all done by the will of the Lord. So one thing we can just clear out of the way is that Maharaj Parikshit is a pure devotee of the Lord, and he's no ordinary soul. It's mentioned, Bhagavad explains, right from the childhood, he was like, even before he was born, he got to know Lord Vishnu. As the old Vastatama had released Brahmastra, and right from the womb he got darshan of Lord Vishnu. And then it's mentioned that actually his name was Vishnurat. Vishnurat means one who has been protected by Lord Vishnu. But he was also given this name Parikshit because he was always examining, where is that person who saved me when I was in the womb of my mother? Where is that beautiful four-armed Vishnu? So he's always examining, is this the person, is that the person? He was always looking for Krishna, always looking for Vishnu. That's why he got this name Parikshit. And as Bhagavatam explains, right from childhood, he used to play with dolls of Krishna. He had learned deities. Right from childhood, he was engaged in bhakti. And in one purport, Prabhupada even says that Maharaj Parikshit and Sukadeva Goswami, they're actually on the same level of spiritual advancement. So, Sukadeva Goswami Maharaj, like in this case, Maharaj Parikshit, he takes the humble position. He takes the position of the listener of Bhagavatam, and Sukadeva Goswami recites. But actually, they could switch the role around. Maharaj Parikshit could be sitting on the Vyasasana, speaking Bhagavatam, and Sukadeva Goswami could be here. Because Prabhupada explains that they're both on the same level of spiritual advancement. So Parikshit Maharaj is no ordinary soul. So then how can we perceive this, that here, he's not being received by a sage? And he should have thought, okay, maybe the sage is in Samadhi, that's why he's not saying anything. And even if the sage did purposefully ignore him, or didn't, or mistreated him, still a pure devotee like Maharaj Parikshit, they would just tolerate it. They wouldn't hold any grudge or anger. So how come in this case we hear in Bhagavatam explains that Maharaj Parikshit got overcome by envy and anger and did this thing, that taking a dead snake and putting it around the neck of a great sage of Brahman. So this Prabhupada explains, quoting the previous acharyas, Vishnava Chakri Thakur and Srila Jiva Goswami. Prabhupada says that this was all done by the will of Lord. Krishna arranged this whole situation just so Bhagavatam could be spoken. And Prabhupada gives the example of Bhagavad Gita also. Just like we hear the same thing in Bhagavad Gita, that Arjuna is a pure devotee also. How can he be overcome by mature compassion? How can he be overcome by mature distress and meditation? So the acharyas explain that Krishna, he covered Arjuna with his yoga maya and put Arjuna into illusion so that Bhagavad Gita could be spoken for our own benefit. So in the same way, in this case, Prabhupada is explaining that Krishna, he used his yoga maya to arrange this whole situation. Krishna bewildered Maharaj Parikshit so he would get overcome by anger and do this whole thing. And this whole thing was orchestrated just so Bhagavatam could be spoken. So Maharaj Parikshit would meet Sukadeva Goswami, and then in 7 days, Bhagavatam could be recited for our benefit. And Prabhupada also uses the example that, like in this case, we're hearing how Maharaj Parikshit was greatly overcome by hunger and thirst. And Prabhupada is saying, for a pure devotee like Maharaj Parikshit, he's never distressed by all these bodily things like hunger, thirst, name, fame, honor, dishonor. It just doesn't affect him. He's completely on the bodily platform. And Prabhupada has given an example, like when Maharaj Parikshit was in the womb, at that time Maharaj Parikshit was able to tolerate the heat of the Brahmastra, which is more powerful than thousands of nuclear weapons. So if someone, when he was a little baby, could tolerate the heat of the Brahmastra, then what's hunger and thirst? So Prabhupada uses that as an argument. So all these things of, firstly, Maharaj Parikshit being overcome by hunger and thirst, and secondly, him getting offended, thirdly, him getting angry, and fourthly, him getting revenge on the sage. This was all arranged by the will of God. Krishna arranged all these things. Krishna covered over Maharaj Parikshit's intelligence through his yoga mat, so Bhagavatam could be spoken for our benefit. So next we'll discuss, like, the first part of Prabhupada says that the king, being a devotee of the Lord, did not approve of his own action, and thus he began to wonder whether the sage was really in a trance or was just pretending in order to avoid receiving the king. And Prabhupada says repentance comes in the mind of a good soul as soon as he commits something wrong. So this is something important that we can learn as well, practicing devotee sadhakas, that after Maharaj Parikshit had done this and he was going back, then he started contemplating, did I actually do the right thing? Maybe I'm at fault, maybe the sage was actually in samadhi and I misjudged him, and because of that I might have committed a great offense. So from this we learn how a devotee is always introspective, is always, the general mature tendency is that you always try and look for the faults of others, and you always, the faults on others, other people, it really stands out. But any faults we might have within ourselves, we just overlook. We just forgive ourselves or don't take it so seriously. But anything, small bad thing someone else does, it immediately, comes out. So a devotee is the other way around. It's mentioned that a devotee, he remembers two things and he forgets two things. He always remembers all the bad things he's done to others, and the second thing he always remembers, he always remembers all the good things everyone else has done to him. And the two things he forgets is, he forgets all the good things he's done to others, and he forgets all the bad things others have done. So if we apply this in our life, we'll always be in the humble mood of Trinata Krishna, we can maintain proper consciousness. But with the mature conditioning we're all born with, it's the other way around. We always remember all the good things we've done to others, and we always expect, okay, because I've done this for him, I've done this for her, so they need to do this for me. We always have this expectation, we have a big list, for this person I've done all these things, so he needs to pay me back. And we always remember all the bad things others have done to us, and we always remind them, remember that time you did this to me, you did that to me, and we hold always, big grudges, and these grudges go on for like many years we'll have grudges against certain persons. But in devotional service, it's like you have to change everything around. So obviously it requires a lot of effort, because for millions and millions of births we've been just going like this. But by chanting Hare Krishna, taking the Sangha devotees, slowly we can get purified in practices. So Maharaj Parikshit is exemplifying this. He's contemplating, okay, I think I've done a great mistake here. I think this sage, actually he was in trance and samadhi, and I misjudged him. So this point of misjudging devotees is actually very common, because we all come to temple or we associate with other devotees, and quite often it happens that one devotee he misjudges another devotee. So to avoid this, it's given in Shastra that when it comes to associating with devotees, we should always give the other devotee benefit of the doubt. We should always think that, okay, although it seems that this action the other devotee is wrong, there's probably some good reason behind it. And we should always give the other devotee benefit of that and not misjudge him. Just like in this case, externally it seems that, okay, maybe this Brahmana, he's very prakta, he's thinking, oh, I'm a Brahmana, I'm in a higher caste, and this king is a Kshatriya, he's in a lower caste. So, I don't want to break my meditation and deal with this Kshatriya, this king, I'm Brahmana, I'm superior, so I'm just going to ignore him. So externally one can misjudge thinking that way. But if one is humble, one is taking the proper Vaishnava consciousness, then he gives the other person benefit, and he thinks, although it seems that he might be mistreating me, maybe he's in samadhi, maybe he genuinely doesn't know I'm here, and he's just completely lost all external consciousness. So it's just he's just in samadhi. So why should I get upset? I'll just go somewhere else. And that will be the mood of a proper devotee. And nectar instruction, Rupa Goswami, he gives a nice analogy. Rupa Goswami says, just like the Ganges is transcendental, it's all spiritual, it's all purifying. Some places in Bhagavatam it's mentioned that the Ganges is like when Lord Vamana, he lifted his foot to cover the universe, and he was slowly moving his feet up, like more and more up. And as he reached towards the shell of the universe, his big toe, it made a crack in the shell of the universe. And then when there was a small crack in the shell of the universe, then the transcendental water from the Karana ocean, and Karana ocean is outside the material universe, so the Karana ocean is spiritual water. So the water from the Karana ocean, it came through the hole, and that water is actually considered as the Ganges. So some places mention that's the Ganges, other places it's mentioned that Lord Brahma, when he's like Lord Vamana, he was lifting his foot, and slowly the foot was rising up and up, rising about all the higher planetary systems, and finally it reached the top planetary system, Brahmaloka, where Lord Brahma lives. And when Lord Brahma sees, this big gigantic foot coming up, he immediately recognizes, okay, this is the transcendental lotus feet of my Lord. And Brahma immediately, he gathers all his associates and gets them, bring all the arti paraphernalia, Lord Vishnu's lotus feet is coming to our residence, let's all worship him with all the arti and all the paraphernalia. And Brahma, he has like a water pot, like golden water pot, and using that he starts washing Lord Vamana's lotus feet. And that water that washed Lord Vamana's lotus feet, in some place in Bhagavad is mentioned that's actually Ganges. And thirdly, Prabhupada explains that the Ganges water is actually non-different from Vishnu himself. So in different places, different things are given. One place is giving this water is from the Karna ocean, another place is given this water is the water that washed Lord Vamana's feet when Lord Brahma was doing Abhishek. Another place is given that the Ganges is non-different from Vishnu. So which one is it? Prabhupada says we should take it, the Ganges is a mixture of all three. So it's all three in one. So we can just imagine how transcendental and spiritual the Ganges is. So in nectar instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami says, just like the Ganges is all purifying, it's all spiritual. And although externally we see there might be some dirt in the Ganges or some foam coming, some rubbish, still the devotee, he overlooks all that, and still the devotee goes into Ganges and takes bath. Still the devotee takes shelter of the Ganges, and he overlooks the so-called dirt and mud that might be present in the Ganges. So in the same way, Srila Rupa Goswami says that we should never judge another devotee just based on the externals. Because externally it might seem a devotee is doing something wrong, but his consciousness could be something completely different. His consciousness could be proper. So we should never judge a devotee, and we should always remember this example of Ganges. Although externally it seems there's some dirt or mud in the Ganges, but one still takes shelter of Ganges. In the same way, although externally there might be some faults, so-called faults and narcas that we see in other devotees, we should just overlook. And classical example of this, like Ratan Prabhu was giving yesterday from Ramayana, that Lord Ram at night when he would take rest, it was mentioned that Lakshman, for all those 14 years in exile, Lakshman didn't sleep at night. To protect his dear Lord, he would be awake with a bow and arrow. And as Lord Ram and Mother Sita would take rest, Lakshman would circumambulate Sita around with a bow and arrow, ready to protect his dear Lord from any animals, any demons that might attack in the dead of the night. So one time Lakshman is doing this in his daily rounds at night time. Lord Ram, Mother Sita are resting, and Lakshman is just circumambulating, bow and arrow, ready to shoot anything that comes or anything that attacks. And then there's this another devotee of Lord Ram called Guha. And Guha, he comes and he sees this. He sees, okay, in this hut, his dear Lord Ram, along with his consort, Mother Sita, they are taking rest. And then there's this other personality with a bow and arrow circumambulating. And what Guha thinks, he thinks this Lakshman, he's out to kill Lord Ram. And he's just looking for an opportunity proper opportunity to shoot Lord Ram and kill him. So this is Guha's consciousness. So then Guha, to protect Lord Ram, Guha starts following behind Lakshman with another bow and arrow. So Lakshman is doing a circle, and Guha secretly behind Lakshman. He is also tailing Lakshman behind. Just in case, whenever Lakshman is about to attack Lord Ram, Guha will attack Lakshman and protect Lord Ram. So this is a classic case of devotee misjudging another devotee. Lakshman's intention is pure. He's not out there obviously to hurt Lord Ram or kill him or take his position. He's actually doing this to protect Lord Ram. But another devotee, Guha, externally seen, he misjudges. He thinks, okay, actually he's doing like this. But both devotees' consciousness is right. Like Guha is, from his point of view, he's thinking one thing. Lakshman, from his point of view, is thinking another. So in this way, it's quite common amongst devotees. We could have a lot of misunderstandings. But all these misunderstandings can be sorted if we just take the humble stance, and not judge devotees, always give devotees benefit of doubt, and just see the good. And unless we are in a position of mentoring a certain devotee or being the authority, we should never correct another devotee or find fault with them. It's not our business. It's their mentor's job to correct them or to help them, or it's the guru's job. So from our side, we should just focus on ourselves, on how we can progress in devotional life, focus on our own anarthas. An example of this is given like one of the 6 Goswamis, Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. One of the qualities that he exemplifies is that Raghunath Bhatta Goswami would never speak any bad word about any devotee. He would never criticize a single devotee of the Lord. Never any criticism would come from his mouth. And what was his mood? His mood was, he would always think to himself that every devotee is doing devotional service based on his own level of Krishna consciousness, based on his own level of spiritual understanding. So what's the fault if he does something? He's just doing based on whatever he knows. If he does some small mistake, this and that, it's understandable. So that was his mood. So we can also, keep that same mood with us. Another thing, sometimes it could be, I'm sure all of us experience this, sometimes it might be a bit difficult to associate with devotees, like senior devotees, how should we properly associate, what should we speak, should we do this, should we do that? And sometimes when our spiritual masters, they visit us, sometimes it's very, we get very nervous, we don't know, what we should speak or how we should serve them. So sometimes among devotees it's very difficult, we're not sure how we should associate and how we should sort out disagreements and misunderstandings, things like that. So once I asked my Guru Maharaj, it seems like I find it very difficult to associate devotees. I'm not sure if I'm associating properly. Sometimes there's misunderstanding, this and that. And my Guru Maharaj told me that actually to associate with devotees, it's actually a spiritual skill. It's a spiritual ability. And one can't simply associate with devotees just from material skills. And he was explaining, it's not that someone who's very outgoing and very jolly and always joking around, who has good sense of humor and who's very good at speaking. There's certain persons who are more shy and timid, and there's other persons who the speaking just naturally comes to them, and they're just very fun to hang out with. So my Guru Maharaj mentioned that it's not that someone who externally has that material skill of being a good talker and just being a people's man. It's not that he can properly associate with devotees. Actually, to associate with devotees, one needs to be spiritually empowered by the deities. One needs to be spiritually empowered by Krishna. So he told me that every day we should come in front of the deities and we should pray to Shri Radha Gopinath that please give me the spiritual ability, please give me the spiritual empowerment to swim, dive and splash in the ocean of devotee Sangha. So this is a spiritual skill that we can't just get on our own endeavor. We need to be gifted from the deities the spiritual ability to associate with devotees and also to be associated properly with our spiritual master. Otherwise, so many mistakes we do and so many problems will happen. And another thing I was going to say is, if you look from Samika Rishi's side, like in the next verses, we'll see that Maharaj Parikshit, from his side, he's repenting. He's thinking, oh no, I did something wrong. I did such a great mistake. And on the other side, Samika Rishi, so he's in trance. He has a dead snake around his neck, and he doesn't realize. But after he gets out of samadhi, and then he looks, oh, what is this? Like a dead snake. And obviously, someone put that dead snake around his neck. So if it was us, what would be the first reaction? We'd be like, man, who did this to me? Who put this snake? Someone is playing a prank on me. Who did this? And we'll immediately look out, where is that person who did this? And we'll shout back at them, or, we want to, get back at them. But Samika Rishi's reaction was completely different. He just, he was like, oh, that's it, okay. And he just put it on the side, he just didn't even think about it. He just wasn't disturbed. So there's one point Prabhupada mentioned that a devotee is never disturbed by any distressful condition. He just takes everything as the mercy of the Lord. So on one side we can see, okay, from one side we should always be looking at our own faults and seeing, okay, where I'm going wrong. And if we do something wrong, Prabhupada says we should be repentant. Prabhupada says repentance comes in the mind of a good soul as soon as he commits something wrong. And another place Prabhupada says that Krishna resides in the repentant heart. So whenever we do something wrong, if we are genuinely repentant, then Krishna, he immediately overlooks. This is mentioned in 11th canto. In 11th canto, when Krishna is talking to Uddhava, Krishna tells Uddhava in one very nice verse, Krishna says, my devotee, as he's practicing devotional service, sometimes you might commit some mistakes, but I overlook all those mistakes. If he is repentant, genuinely repentant, and I overlook, and he's firmly continues on practicing devotional service. But at the same time, we should be careful not to take advantage of this. Oh, Krishna is very merciful. If I do a mistake, Krishna will just forgive. So let me, I can just do whatever I like, and Krishna will forgive. If we do things in that way, then it's like an offense against the holy name. Like one of the offenses is to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy name. So we have to be careful of that. But any accidentally we might do some seva aparad or this aparad, that aparad. Krishna, he just overlooks. As long as we genuinely repentant, Krishna, he doesn't. Just like a genuine father, sometimes the child, he might do some mistake or do something wrong, but the father just overlooks. Oh, he's just a child, he doesn't know. He just made a small mistake, that's okay. But the child is, planning to do mistakes just for the sake of it, or then obviously then the parents might get angry. So on one hand it's like that the devotee, he sees his own faults and tries to work on himself. On the other hand, whenever someone else does something bad to him, he just doesn't take it so seriously. This we see with Samika Rishi. Although a dead snake had been put around his neck, he just didn't take it seriously. He was just like, what is this? He just put it on the side and he just wasn't disturbed. So, and this we see, like there's some examples of this. Like I was thinking of Maharaj Bharat. Like it's given in the Ramayana that the personality who had to do the most austerity in Ramayana was Bharat Maharaj. He wasn't, although externally it seems that Lord Ram, Mother Sita and Lakshman, they were the ones exiled for 14 years in the forest, and they're the ones who were attacked by demons and so many problems, harassments happened. Actually it's mentioned that Bharat Maharaj's austerity was even more than Lord Ram, Mother Sita and Lakshman. Why? Because everyone misjudged Bharat Maharaj. Although Bharat Maharaj was just a pure sold-out devotee of Lord Ram, everyone in the kingdom, all the citizens in the kingdom, they thought that Bharat Maharaj had asked his mother to ask those two boons, that send Lord Ram to the forest for 14 years and make my son Bharat the king. So everyone in the whole Ayodhya, all the citizens thought that actually Bharat, he was envious of Lord Ram, and Bharat Maharaj, he asked his mother to go and ask his father Dashrath to kick Lord Ram out and make him the king. So everyone was misjudging Bharat, the whole kingdom. Although he himself was pure, he had nothing to do with it. His whole kingdom, all of his ministers, and it's given even his own guru, Vasishtha, his own spiritual master, misunderstood him. So imagine that, being in a position where you're doing everything right, you know that whatever you've done is proper, but everyone else in the community, they're all looking down on you. Everyone else in the community is misjudging you. Even your own spiritual master is misjudging you. How painful, how austere is that? You were just like, what is the point of this? You just, let me commit suicide. What's the point of living? And for myself, I'm doing everything right, but everyone, even my own spiritual master is misjudging me. So this is like a very, I can't think of a better example of being misjudged than that. So, but Bharat Maharaj, he just took it up on his head, and for those 14 years, he lived very humbly. the shoes of Lord Ramachandra on the front, and just as Lord Ram and Mother Sita were living very austere life in the forest, so Bharat Maharaj was also living outside the kingdom, and like a hut he created, he would sleep on the floor, and he would just wear bark and all those things. So another example is of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's spiritual master was Ishwara Puri, and Ishwara Puri's spiritual master was Madhavendra Puri. So Madhavendra Puri, he had another disciple called Ramachandra Puri, and this Ramachandra Puri, he was completely opposite of Ishwara Puri. Ishwara Puri, he was completely sold out devotee of his spiritual master. It's mentioned when Madhavendra Puri was just about to leave this body, he was just bedridden, he couldn't get up, and Ishwara Puri would take full care of him, all the necessities, and even when he had to, pass school and everything, Ishwara Puri would clean all of that and make all arrangements for him. So he was completely sold out to his spiritual master. But it's given in CC that Ramachandra Puri, he was completely the exact opposite. And when Madhavendra Puri, he was reciting some verses from Bhagavatam, and Ishwara Puri, Ramachandra Puri was criticizing his own spiritual master, saying, what is this? Why are you crying like this? You should be happy. You should concentrate on the impersonal Brahman and be happy and jolly. Why are you crying and singing all these things about Krishna? Like this, he was criticizing his spiritual master. And then Madhavendra Puri, he obviously got angry and just said, just get lost, get out of my face. I never want to see you again. This way, this Ramachandra Puri was cursed. So then he left, and then later on, during Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's time, while Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was Jagannath Puri, this Ramachandra Puri, he came when he saw Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was very envious of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he started criticizing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he started spreading false rumors about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, although he's dressed as a sannyasi, still, he's eating so much prasad, He's eating like a bhogi, like a sense gratifier. He's eating so much prasad. Externally, he's dressed as a sannyasi, I can renunciate. But if you look at his behavior, he's just like a sense gratifier. What is this? He's just a pretender. So like this, he started spreading false rumors and criticizing Lord. And he was like such a crooked person. What he would do, he would invite all the sadhus from Jagannath Puri to come and take prasad, and he would invite Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. And then he would personally start serving. Like yesterday we had Vyas Puja, there will be certain devotees allocated for serving the prasad. So he would himself volunteer to serve the prasad. And he would come to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and he would serve some prasad. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would say, okay, that's enough. This is enough for me, this will fill my belly, I don't need any more. And then this Ramachandra forcibly will give Chaitanya Mahaprabhu more. No, you take more, you take more. And he would, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, I don't need, this is enough for me. And he forcibly served Chaitanya Mahaprabhu more and more prasad. And firstly, he himself would force Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to take more prasad. And then after he would serve Chaitanya Mahaprabhu with big plate prasad, then he himself would criticize. Just see, look at this sannyasi. See how much prasad he has on his plate. What kind of renunciate is he? So this was, the nature of Ramachandra Puri. Sometimes, you might come across persons like that also. They themselves will force you to do something, then they themselves will point out, just see, this guy is doing like this. So in this way, he used to criticize Chaitanya, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was just very humble. He just took a very humble stance, and all the devotees, they were just like, it's like, what is this guy, And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he said, actually, this Ramachandra Puri, he's right. I'm a sannyasi, I shouldn't eat so much. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told all of his devotees, from this day onwards, give me only half of what you normally serve. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reduced his prasad by half. And when all the devotees heard this, their hearts were completely broken. Imagine Gopinath said, okay, from now on only you eat half of what you give me. Our hearts would have broken. How come you're fasting like this? So all the devotees' heart was just like completely broken. And they were kept on insisting, no, please ignore this Ramachandra Puri, he's a crazy guy, He's like a demon, why are you taking his words so seriously? Please eat your normal man. But everyone said, no, what he's saying is right. He's my senior, he is my spiritual master's god brother. What he's saying is right, I should follow what he's saying. So from now on, I only eat half the amount of prasad that I usually take. So then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu reduced his prasad by half. Still later on, it's mentioned in CC that once this Ramachandra Puri, he came across Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's room. And when he was walking through Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's room, he saw there was some ants in the room. And then when he saw the ants, he immediately pointed at ants. He said, just see, can you see in his room? There's ants. You know what this means? That he's hiding sweets in his room. He's been taking lots and lots of sweets. Although externally he's dressed as a sannyasi, acting like a big renunciate, but in his room secretly he hides sweets, and when no one is watching, he's just taking all these sweets and prasad. That's why there's ants in this room. Otherwise, how can ants come in this room? So in this way, this Ramachandra Puri was just criticizing Lord Chaitanya. But Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami explains that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't hold any grudge, anything against this Ramachandra. He just took a very humble stance and just accepted whatever this Ramachandra Puri said. Even though whatever he's saying was wrong, he just took it upon himself. So in this way we see how a devotee, although externally, many different things might come to him, he doesn't retaliate. Although this is like a very extreme example, but we can take inspiration and also try and apply that, try and be like that. And one more point Prabhupada has mentioned in this booklet: the pure devotee's mundane frustration is meant to elevate the devotee to a higher transcendental position. Okay, so Prabhupada is saying here that whenever some frustrating situation comes in our life, that situation is supposed to help us rise higher in our spiritual life. Prabhupada is saying the pure devotee's mundane frustration is meant to elevate the devotee to a higher transcendental position. So this is a material law. Naturally, many frustrating situations will come in our life. Probably at the moment we're going through some frustrating situation in life. So Prabhupada is saying the way we should see such frustrating situations is that we should see this as an opportunity to rise higher in our spiritual growth, rise higher in our spiritual life. Instead of going down, we should rise higher. And this is what we see in Maharaj Parikshit. Although externally this is a very frustrating situation, that he just did a small mistake, just put a snake around a sage's neck, and for that small mistake he got cursed to die in 7 days. Prabhupada explains that for a king like Maharaj Parikshit, actually it wasn't such a big offense. And it was a small offense, but for such a small offense to be cursed to die in 7 days, that was completely wrong. That's why the father, Samika Rishi, he chastises his son later on, Shringi, that what did you do? You just degraded our family, you put bad name to Brahmanas. The king can do no wrong. The king is our father. Because of the king only we're living. He is giving us food. And that same king, you cursed him to die in 7 days. And actually it was my fault, I didn't receive him well. And the king can do no wrong. Like this, his father was explained to his son Shringi. So although it's very frustrating, it seems to be a very frustrating situation for Maharaj Parikshit, that just for this thing, now he's cursed to die in 7 days, just by some, puffed up Brahmana boy. But he uses this as an opportunity to further his spiritual advancements. He said, okay, I'll just take this as a will of the Lord. Now finally I can use this as an opportunity to detach myself from all my mature attachments, detach myself from my family, my kingdom, all these opulence, friends, family, and I'll just go to the bank of the Ganges, and for the next 7 days, I'll just won't eat anything, I'll just completely fast and just fully concentrate on Bhagavad Gita, just fully concentrate on Krishna. So in the same way, whenever any frustrating situation comes in our life, we should use that as an opportunity to come closer to Krishna. We should use that as an opportunity to surrender more to Krishna. And we should see everything as Krishna's arrangement, instead of, like, it's good to be repentant, but that repentance should lead to an increase in devotional service. So a devotee does, like when a devotee does something wrong, my Guru says that yes, a devotee can go into depression, or I'm so foolish, I did this wrong, I'm not such a great devotee. So that's okay. But if that depression or that repentance is leading to a devotee doing less devotional service, then that depression or that repentance is material. But if that depression or repentance is causing one to do more devotional service, okay, I'm so poor, I'm not doing this properly, I did this mistake, okay, I need to chant more, my mind is not proper, I'm doing many mistakes, I'm not doing things properly. Okay, from now on I'm going to chant more attentively. From now on, I'm going to come and do more seva. I'm going to do more Vaishnava seva, and this way I'm going to improve myself. Then that repentance is spiritual. Where if the repentance is having the other effect, oh, I'm so fallen, I'm doing this wrong, I should stop coming to temples, I don't know how to properly associate with devotees, I'm doing this mistake, that mistake, I'm so fallen, I'm not qualified to do service. And then if it leads to a decrease in service, then that depression is mature actually. In this way, my Guru Maharaj says that we can judge if our emotion is mature or spiritual. If the certain emotion that we're going through is leading us to take more shelter of Radha Gopinath, leading us to do more devotional service, then it's spiritual, then it's good. Although externally it seems that we're going through sadness or some negative thing, because it's inspiring us to do more devotional, it's spiritual. With that I end here, and today is also the auspicious day of the advent of Bhagavad Gita, Gita Jayanti. It's also Ekadasi. So we're very fortunate that by Prabhupada's mercy we got Bhagavad Gita as it is. Prabhupada said that in his introduction to Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada writes that before he published Bhagavad Gita as it is, there were hundreds of copies, hundreds of different editions of Bhagavad Gita in the West. But in the Western world, there was not one devotee of Krishna. Although so many Gitas have been published all around the world, but not one devotee of Krishna outside of India. Then Prabhupada said, now that we have established Bhagavad Gita as it is, just in a few years, you see, in every city, in every country of the world, there's devotees of Krishna. So Prabhupada, this is the potency of Bhagavad Gita. If you present Bhagavad Gita as it is, without any interpretation, without changing the message, then this is the effect of Bhagavad Gita, that it can completely change one's heart. And by Prabhupada's mercy, we've got Bhagavad Gita as it is, and we see how people from all around the world, their hearts are being transformed. People in China, Russia, America, Europe, South America, everywhere, every city in all the countries of the world, people are becoming devotees just by reading Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. So on this day, we can deepen our relation with Bhagavad Gita by studying and reciting the slokas today, and also we can share the message of Bhagavad Gita to others. This is the greatest gift we can give. Now, Kamsari Prabhu will come and talk a bit about kind of today about Shastradhan and other things for today's program.
Hare Krishna. So, Gita Jayanti ki Jai. So, this year we're continuing the tradition of sharing Bhagavad Gita on Gita Jayanti. As you can see, there are Gitas on the altar as well. So we're requesting all devotees to please come forward and take Bhagavad Gita, give it to friends. If you have one, take more. You can give it to more friends. And also sponsor them. I was recently reading in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, Vipra Maharaj's pastime. There, particularly in one sloka, Prabhupada says that Krishna, Gopinath, he descends to establish religion, and his pure devotees descend with him to help propagate the religion. So, in one lecture, I heard my spiritual master mention that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he didn't spend too much time preaching. He simply went traveling, and he was just gushing